You're listening to CHSR 97.9 FM. This is Instant Breakfast, and I'm your host, John Heinstein, sitting in for Tammie Hayward. We have with us here today a couple of guests. Eddie Young of Roots and Soul Music. He's the founder of the Living Roots Festival, which is happening this weekend in Fredericton. We also have with us today Bradan Phalen, who is a guitar player with the band The Lifers. He also plays with Sumi, and he'll be performing this weekend in a duo called Tragedy Ann. We're going to start out with a tune from The Lifers' latest album, Honey Sweet, called I'm Going Mad.
I'm going mad. I'm going mad. My mind is high. I'm going mad. Radio transmits over lines out of sight, radiating through my mind. Gramophone is off, the piping sinks enough. The broadcast brought to you by Warmest. Radiating through my hypnagogic sleep, dreaming in tabs, the blood is in my lungs. The broadcast brought to you by Warmest. East Coast village, chilled by voices still unseen. The wound but never bruise, kill but never bleed. I heard it in the clothing line. Now I'm the one hung out to dry. Thank you and goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. waving hello on our way through the sky. We mean no harm, we're just passing on by, waving hello on our way through the sky. We mean no harm, we're just passing by, waving hello on our way through the sky. We mean no harm, we're just passing on by, waving hello on our way through the sky. We mean no harm, we're just passing on by, waving hello on our way through the sky. We're just passing by, waving hello on our way through the sky.
Good morning. We have here Eddie Young and Bradan Phalen. Eddie, we have the Living Roots Festival coming up this weekend. Tell us a little bit about it.
We do.
What is the festival like? How is it different from other festivals in the region? What was your goal in setting up this festival with this particular lineup of artists?
Well, it's funny you asked that. I went into it, 3 years ago, started, not thinking it was going to be as much as a curated festival as it is now, but it very much is. Just over the last few years of hosting artists at Grimross and different places, meeting them, getting to know them a little bit. A lot of times I'm finding myself inviting them right then and there to come play the festival.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the idea of it really is to fill up the city with a whole bunch of people I would want to be around, and I want my friends to be around and meet and make friends with, collaborate with, all that sort of stuff. Like Bradan that's sitting here plays with the Lifers. Last time they were here, they made a connection with our local band, The Falling Leaves, and they were singing some harmonies on their new album and things like that.
So it's a festival that really comes out of the musical community as opposed to one that's sort of orchestrated from above.
It's very much community. The other goal is to bring these acts in from out of town, match them with the appropriate local bands, and then we're billeting them at my friends' houses and things like that, so that when they do come through on tour next time, they have friends here in town. It's going to go out to the show, help them promote the show, and get their friends out, and just build a Canadian community of music, I guess.
Those are really important synergies to bring about, because it's hard as a musician touring. It's a long, lonely, and often not very lucrative kind of business to be in, but people pursue it because they're passionate about music. And so the question is always lingering over you as a musician: how do you do it? And so to build these kinds of interconnections it's very important. I mean, you can be known in your local community or in your general area, but you travel from New Brunswick to Ontario or Ontario to New Brunswick, and crowds that could be 200-300 in your hometown or 2 or 3 in your town, unless something else comes into play.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to achieve?
Absolutely. I've had so many great bands come through and play their first time out east, and they're playing to 5 people sometimes.
Yeah, you just don't know the scene
and they're
at all.
just as good as anybody that you're hearing on the radio anywheres or wherever. So I do feel that is an important. And I think that's probably, I don't know, in my mind anyway, that's the way we have to do it nowadays, I guess.
Bradan, has that been your experience with connecting with the Fredericton community as a musician who lives out of town in Guelph, Ontario? I mean, it's a fair drive from Guelph to here.
Yes, yeah.
And what brought you here first? This is not the first time that you've been to Fredericton, is it?
No, I've been lucky enough. This is my 3rd time into Fredericton now, and I would say I have no problem saying that is largely due to Eddie's curation and what he brings to the scene and to the town. And I will continue to come back because I love it here. Yeah. It's funny, I actually ended up, this time coming out was via train.
Nice.
Yeah, Via Rail has a really great program called Artists on Board,
okay.
Where a solo or duo performer can ride from Montreal to Halifax or Toronto to Vancouver. And they allow, you play a few times on the train and once at one of the stations, and then they let you ride for free.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is
great. Yeah, I mean, riding the train's a great Canadian experience.
Totally.
The whole country was built on the train system.
Absolutely.
And it's
Yeah.
it's not exactly in its heyday these days, but that experience is
Yeah.
still like a, it's a unique experience traveling that way as opposed to a car.
Mhm.
And it's a communal experience too, and
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I found this is my second time using the program, and my first time doing it solo. And an interesting kind of byproduct to doing it solo, I was reminded of how much I do really enjoy traveling alone. In that when I would sit in the dining car for dinner or lunch, because I was on my own, the servers there would sit other solo passengers next to me. I had all these blind dates. So I got to meet some really interesting people that way, and have conversations that I would have never had otherwise.
yeah, and introduce them to your music too.
Well, inadvertently, yeah, because of course it comes up in conversation.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the two people that I ended up having these speed dates with, the first one was a visual artist, and the second one was an author.
Mhm.
So it seemed like all the creative types on the train were on their lonesome and looking to connect with others, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Canada's so spread out geographically too.
No kidding.
That's I think you're bringing some really good things to the city, and Grimross has been the center of your musical endeavors, has it not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
they. I mean, partially to them, just give me the space and opening up and allow me to
Mhm.
pretty much program whatever I like.
Yeah.
There.
And the space has expanded since you started.
Oh
hasn't
yeah,
it?
Braden hasn't been in there since
No.
since it's expanded.
Yeah.
so.
I've seen many a live stream, but I'm yet to get in there, and I've been pining for Grimross, so I'll be probably up there later this afternoon.
So Grimross is the musical hub of this festival, but it's not just
Yep.
in Grimross, right?
No, we got 10 venues in total. I would say my headline performers are based at Grimross, and we're kind of making that home base where we're picking up doing early pass pickup this afternoon into this evening, along with the Washwood workshop that we're doing. But yeah, there's the Capitol and the Wilsers Room, which has been a venue since day one of the festival. We finish each night there. The Friday and Saturday is really cool. We do staggered sets.
Mhm.
So as you know, there's two stages in the building. So we got 45-minute set upstairs, immediately start downstairs, and back upstairs, back and forth like a festival.
Mhm.
Also, some really neat spots. The Abbey Cafe we had some really cool experiences in there last year, and we're back.
Cafe
again
/
this year.
cider house.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's not a bad thing either.
It's a bookstore is one of the venues.
Yeah, there's a bookstore which is Reed's Cafe.
Mhm.
Coffee, magazines, all that sort of stuff. They've been actually in the last year or so. They've really been doing a lot of shows, and all ages shows too, I should say,
I see
which
that.
is quite important, I think.
Mhm.
I know me as a 18-year-old, I was looking to go out to those shows, but it seems like they're not available for that age demographic
Yeah.
anymore. So there's a few spots open up now, which is great. Cinnamon Cafe, which has been from day one too. They've been super supportive.
Mhm.
Something real neat, the Royal Barbershop.
I saw that.
We
yeah.
had it last year, so just
Yeah.
kind of set up acoustically, and we had the vaudevillian play in there last year, and it was ridiculously fun.
You-
I don't think there was any room for anyone to get their hair cut.
I was wondering that. Can you get a haircut?
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to me, but those of you who are.
But yes, you certainly can. It's a neat way. It's just kind of like buy a donation thing, so you can go in, get your hair cut, see an act or two, and
Oh,
move on.
that's
And then
great.
Bellwether, which is the vintage consignment shop.
Oh yeah, I was wondering
Yeah,
about
right across
that.
from
yeah.
Backstreet Records.
Yeah.
yeah.
And a couple of out of town venues also.
Yep. So satellite venues, I call them, I guess. One out in Hervey Station, the Lock Pub.
Mhm.
Full programming there, 2 acts each night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
And the same thing in Keswick at the Barnhouse Pub. I just started programming a little bit of music out there too.
So where's the Barnhouse Pub located for those who may not?
Right
be
down in the
aware?
mouth of Keswick. It's right at the V where you would turn to go to Bert's Corner or Keswick. There's
Okay.
the RCMP offices right there.
Yes,
beside
yeah,
it.
right
Little-
by the bridge, and
Yep.
yeah, at the
So
turnoff.
no shenanigans.
No,
then.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So you brought some tunes to play, right?
yes,
From
absolutely.
some of the bands who are playing, and why don't we listen to one?
Yep.
And then we'll get back to the conversation.
So-
who do you have for us now?
So queued up here I have Rory Taillon. He's been here a couple times and played for me. He's going to be playing all 3 days of the festival too. We kind of connected, same as a lot of the other acts on this, on the bill. Rory is a fantastic vocalist. I put him on I call it my headline set for the festival with Irish Mytham. He's going to play right before Irish, just because of his vocal. he's gonna blow everybody away.
Yeah.
So the song I got queued up is Warmest Regards.
Okay.
And again, Rory Taillon.
So do you know Rory personally? You've met
Yeah, I
him
do now.
before?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
call Rory a friend now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if he's coming through town and not playing, we usually stop and grab a beer somewhere.
Is he on his way through town, or did he come here just for the?
He's doing a few
festival?
shows, but the destination was the 3 shows at the festival for sure.
Great.
Yeah, that's part of it. Like kind of, I don't know what I want to call it.
Okay, well let's listen to a tune from Rory Taillon.
Hello, there again. I can't say that you've been missed. With that cold touch from your hand sliding across my wrist. But pull up a chair and have yourself a glass. Just make me a promise this time. Make it last. Make it last. It's been so long. It's beginning to wonder if I'd been missed. I almost settled my tab. Almost got up to take a piss. But now that you're here, I'll have that other glass. 2 of your strongest whiskeys, my dear. Bring them fast. Bring them fast. We switched to wine. I'm not complaining, I'm just not sure. You clouded my mind. And what did you do with the time? You pulled up a chair. You had yourself that glass. You kept your promise. You made
made it last.
Well, that was a great tune from Rory Taillon called Warmest Regards. Rory's going to be playing at the festival this weekend.
He
Eddie,
is.
can you tell us when?
All 3 days. Rory will be playing Keswick, the Barn House, on Thursday.
Okay.
Friday, he's playing at Grimross with on the Irish Mython show. And then Saturday afternoon, he's playing at the Wilzer's Room with Brooklyn Dorn, who he tours a bunch with, and she is fantastic in her own ways. And that show too, we're gonna have some food catered and stuff like that in the afternoon, so
Nice.
you can.
Who's doing the catering?
It's a friend of mine, Mel Wood.
Okay.
So it's called Mel Wood's Natural Goods.
All right,
So it's all
natural
pretty
local food.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
You'll see there's some food trucks and things like that with the festival as well, and it's all local, and that's again
Okay.
that's a big part of it.
Is that
Local
true a lot of the
businesses.
venues? So it's at Grimross. We're gonna have food trucks. and
Grimross
stuff.
mostly it's a food truck, and then
Yeah.
then Mel at the Wilzers Room.
Yeah, so people should be bringing cash if they want to buy food.
Yeah, cash is good.
Yeah, cash is always good. Yeah.
And not to mention for merch and all that kind of stuff, buying CDs and shirts. and all that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of stuff,
that's
so.
an important point to make.
Yeah, because not everywhere's that is a really good point. Not everywhere's has a bank machine, including Grimross. So
Yeah.
that's always
Yeah.
always a stepping stone up there, I guess.
Yeah, come with your pockets full.
Yeah. So dates of the festival. So officially it's May 24th to 26th, which is Thursday to Saturday. But we have a soft start tonight, which is the 23rd.
Yeah.
Grimross, we got the washboard workshop with Nora from the Vaudevillians going to be doing that.
Oh, sweet.
And doing pass pickup. And then on Sunday, there's a couple events. There is, but 12:30, I guess, is yoga at Grimross. So it's beer yoga or hangover yoga, I guess maybe we should call it on Sunday.
Yeah. So is it like have a few beer and then do some yoga, or
Yeah,
do
yeah.
some
You
yoga,
actually
have
have
a few beer?
you actually have beer while you're doing yoga.
While you're
She
doing
incorporates it with it.
Yeah, it's not like that internet meme with drunken yoga where people are like falling off the back of their chair, and that's the equivalent of
No,
yoga
that's
pose.
right. No. It is yoga.
Yeah, it will end up that way.
And then she has she's doing that Saturday morning as well. But she has live music incorporated with that too. So Saturday is C.A. Jackson's going to be playing some ragtime music along with it. And on Sunday, Liam Keith Jock from Montgomery Street and Fallen Leaves, he's going to be doing like some solo jazz guitar playing during it. So which is kind of cool. And then we got a songwriter circle on Sunday afternoon also.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Where does a person get tickets?
Tickets.
For the shows?
Well, online, etixnow.com. There are full passes there. There are individual show tickets for some of the events. The rest of them, like the ones at the cafes and things like that, you can just show up and pay at the door, space permitting, because they are small spaces, obviously.
Yeah.
And this afternoon, starting at 4 o'clock, I'll be there from about 4 till 10 at Grimross, and you can certainly come up and grab a pass there. Say hi and have a beer with us.
Okay. So the passes, what do they get you into?
Absolutely everything.
Everything.
So it's $70. Gets you every venue, every stage, whatever you want.
That's a really good deal.
no limitations that way.
Yeah, I mean that really.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I mean, there's
saves you
54.
some
There's
money,
54 acts for
Yeah.
$70. So what's that? $1.20 an act.
Yeah, that's really good value for
So,
your money. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I do
definitely.
I do want to encourage people to. I would say to get out, and even if you don't know the name of these bands and stuff like that, it's important to go out and maybe step outside your comfort zone and go check some of this out, because I think it all really is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know.
I think we all, and I'm bad for it. I mean, you go to what you know, kind of thing, and your friends and all that sort of stuff. But we can see that stuff most of the time. There's some acts here that this will be like the only time that they come through town, kind of thing.
And music's not a static thing. It's all about growth, and not just growth in the musicians, but growth in the listeners. So, you know, you should get out there and support, not just support music, but support local musicians, Canadian musicians, because, you know, they really depend on that. Like, it takes so much to go out there and put in all of your effort to be creative and brilliant, and it's hard to make money at it. It's hard to even just exist at it. So it's very, very important that people come out and you know, participate in the act of creating music.
Yeah, participate somehow. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Do you have volunteers? Do you have the need for volunteers?
I think we're pretty full. I got a volunteer coordinator, so I kind of had to delegate a little bit this year. So I told her I didn't even really want to know too much about it. Just schedule it and have it taken care of. But I'm pretty sure it's pretty full. But you never know. There's always people that can't make their shift or something like that. So there is an email. It's volunteer.livingroots@gmail.com. So if you are interested, you can send. I'm sure if you really want to do something, she can find somewhere.
Yeah. And so people can find your schedule on livingroots.com.
Schedule is the website is rootsandsoulmusic.com, and then at the top of it there's a tab for the festival itself.
Okay.
And it's on there. The best and most updated is the Facebook page for sure.
Okay.
If you go to the Facebook events, I made an event for each day, and the full schedule is in there.
And you do a lot of live streaming, so I'm sure you'll be live streaming some of the events.
Yep. Wherever I'm at, and I'm hoping that some of my other volunteers and stuff, I've asked them to capture as much as possible. We are going to have a videographer running around all weekend too. We're going to try to capture a little bit of a documentary.
Oh, that'd be great.
Not even so much of just what's going on the stage. It's going to be like a lot of the background stuff, impromptu jams and things like that. So I'm pretty excited for that.
The concert behind the concert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I think so much about these festivals, especially the smaller scale ones, what sets them apart from other types of music functions and music festivals is the culture that is established over a few years. And suddenly you have things that might start as an impromptu jam that becomes a tradition that's unique to that festival, and what keeps both musicians and listeners coming back.
Cool. So that was Bradan Phalen speaking. He's plays with the Lifers, who we heard at the top of this show, and he's also playing with Tragedy Ann, which is a duo with Liz Cazzola, also from the Lifers. So Bradan, tell us a little bit about Tragedy Ann. How is that something that came out of the Lifers as a secondary project?
Well, Liv and I started playing together when I was in school, and she had a internship in Toronto. So we were both living in Toronto at the time, and Lifers had started by that point, but at that point it was still primarily Liv and her sister Anita working as a duo. So the Lifers as this 6-piece behemoth that it is now hadn't really happened yet. So Liv and I started playing together, and after a while, for the first period of time, it was Liv and I playing under my name because it was mostly playing my original material or my solo material. And then we started co-writing and playing quite a few more shows, and it reached a point where we just had to manage and create a moniker and really make it a band. So we've operated under that name as a duo since then, and are trying to establish ourselves as less than or not so much a side project from the Lifers as an entirely separate entity.
Right.
And we've played shows together with the Lifers, and of course there's going to be crossover, and we'll play the odd Lifers tune when we're playing a set, but they are really different things.
So what is it that's unique about Tragedy Ann from the Lifers? So what's that point of departure? You must have seen an opening to create something entirely new, and what was that? How can describe that?
I'm not sure if there was a definitive point or moment in time where that was decided, but it's something that's established over the course of, I would say, really the past year, where the Lifers have been working on their new record, which you heard a tune off the top of the show, and Liv and I have been working on the new Tragedy Ann material, which will be coming out in September. And I think especially through these new records, that's where it's been established, some of the differences between the two. Especially with Tragedy Ann, I've taken more of a front seat in terms of the creative role within the group and writing the tunes. I always say that I write the tunes and then Liv fixes them. And she has a considerable writing role as well, but I would say I'm mostly spearheading that. And then she and Anita have the strongest creative role in the Lifers. So just by virtue of it being different people writing the majority of the songs and it being a different dynamic, I think that helps to accentuate those differences and play off of each other in an interesting way.
Okay. So what does your live show look like? You're a guitarist, right?
I am, yeah.
And a singer?
Yep,
Yeah,
singer
and
and
Liv
guitarist.
sings, and is she going to be playing an instrument also?
She plays every instrument.
Every instrument.
For a Tragedy Ann set, Liv's primarily playing accordion, some ukulele, and some singing saw. She's also a very talented piano player, and she'll be playing organ on our album. She played mission organ, marxophone, toy piano, you name it, she played it. And the I can't wait to write out these album credits because it's going to be lengthy for her, and then I'm playing guitars. And then for Lifers, it's a largely, and that's another thing that I really love in comparing the two of them is Liv, for example, is playing essentially the same instruments, but the way that she brings them to each act is entirely different, and I love that about it.
Yeah. So would you describe yourself as a folk band? Or?
For Tragedy Ann, we more and more are describing ourselves as folk singer-songwriter material. It's vague and it's cliche, and it's been done a lot, but it really is an accurate description of what we're doing. It's lyric-based, lyric-centric music.
Yeah.
Not to say that our instrumentals are to be scoffed at, but the lyrics definitely come first for us,
Yeah.
and that storytelling. With the Lifers, there's so much opportunity there for textural work and these lush arrangements, and so again, coming back to comparing the two, a great comparison and great contrast that has been established in these two records is the approach of the Lifers, which is very lush and fleshed out, and there's so much going on and really complementary parts. Whereas with Tragedy Ann, we tried to reflect our live show as a duo, so it's a bit more stripped down and focused around the two of us and just the odd arrangement around it, but there's not a whole lot in between our songs and your ears.
Okay, nice. Let's listen to one of the tunes off your album, Stumbling. We have a song here called College and Church. Do you want to say something about College and Church?
Absolutely. So this is a tune, when I mentioned that Liv and I were living in Toronto, this tune was written after the fact, but it was a reflection on that. And I grew up in a community of about 200 people in Everton, Ontario. Shout out to anyone listening from Everton. And
Everton.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody's listening. Growing up in Everton and then moving to Toronto was, needless to say, a bit of a shock for me. And Liv was pretty instrumental in kind of calming me down and making sure that I see the best of that city and cities in general. So this was a song kind of reflecting on that.
Okay, let's listen to it. This is Tragedy Ann, their album Stumbling, song called College and Church.
And a one-y and a two-y.
Kiss me on the roof of your apartment. Let Young Street play requests. It might be here all week, but tonight it plays its best. Teach me, explain that college and church isn't quite correct. They might have been that before, but they changed after they met. The streets were so lonely before you showed me around. I think we're the only two that still love this town. Forgive me for giving you Subway, TTC heart attacks. I know it freaks you out when I stand too close to the tracks. The streets were so lonely before you showed me around. I think we're the only two that still love this town. The streets were so lonely before you showed me around. I think we're the only two that still love this town. of this town.
Oh, that's beautiful. That was Tragedy Ann from their new album Stumbling, College and Church. We have Bradan Phalen here in the studio. Was just talking about that. That's a really great tune and a great voice.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was how long to completion was that album?
That record was recorded in different. It was done very much on a shoestring, so it was recorded in different basements and bedrooms in London and Guelph, and I think we did some tracking in Toronto as well in 2016. So that one took about, I would say, 5 or 6 months between tracking and completion. And the new one we did in April. It was very speedy, and I felt like when May came along, I felt like I'd been on a different planet for a month.
Yeah.
But it's done.
It's a very kind of close and personal sounding album. You kind of
Yeah.
feel like you're in the room with the band.
Yeah,
Is that the effect that you're trying to create?
Well, especially with the new one, that's definitely what we've been after. With Stumbling, that EP, a lot of it was overdubbed, partially just by virtue of us not being able to afford a nice enough room. But with the new record, we saw the virtue in that and had a little bit more funds put together, thanks to Factor. And we recorded our bed tracks, our main tracks in the Union Sound Company in Toronto, and did it largely live. So Liv and I sitting kind of next to each other as close as you and I are, and tracking my guitar and our vocals at the same time, which has a series of limitations with it, but it gets the best performance possible and captures that.
I mean, it really, I was thinking as I was listening to it, it really sounds live, and when you record that way, you get a lot of kind of bleed into all of the microphones from the different, and it gives you that sense of closeness that you don't get when you record everything separately, and really there's some unspoken interaction between the musicians when they're playing live that you can never capture when you're doing track by track.
Well, and that's something I would almost argue that the Lifers are worth going to see for that kind of interaction alone, just because the chemistry between Liv and Anita gets a little spooky sometimes. There's a lot of things that are said without needing to say a word, because there is just that connection that you can only really find in sisters, and they've really honed that.
Yeah.
I admire seeing that.
So speaking of some of the synergies that you've been able to create here, Eddie, with the shows you've been putting on in Grimross, Liv and Anita are actually playing on an album put out by some Fredericton musicians.
Yeah, they are. Last time they were here last year, I had them on the bill with, was it the Fallen Leaves that you guys, the Lifers, played with?
You know what? I can't recall.
I can't remember neither. They have so many bands as well, so I mean, it was them in some capacity.
That's the thing. No, it was Stuffed Bunsta.
Oh, yes.
That was it.
Which is all the members of them anyway. So, so they kind of made a connection there that night, and I think you guys ended up crashing at Alex's place a couple times.
What we did, what ended up happening is we came in by, played Fredericton, were very confused, not knowing who Stuffed Bunsta and the Dibley Junsters were, and then were blown away by who Stuffed Bunsta and the Dibley Junsters were. Proceeded on to Nova Scotia dates, and then the original plan was to drive straight from Nova Scotia back to into Quebec for the rest of our dates. And then Alex from Falling Leaves and Stuffed Bunsta dropped us a line and said, hey, I noticed you have this extra night. Do you want to come by and play at our place, and we'll put you up for the night? And so we ended up making an additional stop in Fredericton, much to everybody's celebration.
Yeah, we had members of another band playing the festival too. I think Oak Ash and Thorn come by that night too.
Yep, yeah, they were by that night, and when Liv and I were in Fredericton the first time, we were playing St. Patrick's Day, and Oak Ash and Thorn and Ian were playing, and it was great. Yeah,
so we've made that. I shouldn't leave that connection out either. They're playing Lifers and Oak Ash and Thorn are playing the same bill on Thursday night as well. So
cool. Yeah.
But back to your original question, I guess. Anita and Liv, out of all that, Anita and Liv are singing harmonies on one of the new Falling Leaves songs on their brand new album, which is really, really well done too, called Unfurl.
Yeah, it's a really good album.
So I think we have that queued up, and maybe we'll be able to hear them a little bit.
Do you know whether Liv and Anita came to Fredericton to do the vocals for this, or did they do it
Yeah, no, they
That's
did
rare.
it. That's the magic of the internets.
It's so amazing, you know. When I was growing up in the
Yeah.
80s, everything was analog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if
like
you-
there was no possibility of ever doing that. The first time I heard of that done was a friend of mine who had written an album, and then he developed really bad carpal tunnel syndrome. Couldn't play his guitar, and he connected with these guys in Israel. That was, you know, in the days before things like Dropbox, where it was easy to share stuff. They were FTPing tracks back and forth, and you know, since then it's just become, you know, so much easier to produce really high quality music at a much lower budget, and have control over the music that you're
Yeah,
creating.
and
you know, when you're not
still-
on the clock, it's
And
a whole
still be
other
just
experience.
as great as anything else.
yeah,
Really is.
yeah, better.
If not,
think.
if not better, because it
Yeah.
has that. I don't know. I don't know what I want to call it. That
There's
that real feel to it. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of dynamic range.
Yeah.
The music that's self-produced, I find, if it's not mastered in
and I
that top 40 sort of way.
I feel like you can have probably, and Braden might be able to answer this better. I feel like you can have more time, I guess, where you're not renting a studio space and you say we have these 5 hours to track these 2 songs and whatever, you can get it right.
yeah.
For sure. The way I approach it, at least, is home recording and using things like a DAW or a digital audio workspace is super handy in terms of getting ideas down and doing so much of that pre-production work at home if you are wanting to go and use a studio. So that way you're not, because nobody has the budget anymore to go and write and arrange in the studio. We wish we did, but it's just not the case. So you do as much work at home as you can, and then when you arrive at the studio, you're ready to go and you go out and bang the songs out. But then alternatively, I know Sam Boer, the drummer from the Lifers, has put out a number of small EPs and singles, just recording them at home. And that's something that has been done by a lot of artists these days and is totally doable. That the Lifers vocal part that they added to the Falling Leaves track was recorded in our basement. I was upstairs when they were doing it. It sounded beautiful. And so there is a lot of possibility and potential there now, and definitely more than a few ways to skin that cat.
All right. Well, let's listen to a track from the Falling Leaves, a Fredericton band with backup vocals with Liv and Anita from the Lifers. Just another example of making the world a smaller place through the internet.
Moment of silence, the water is clear. The hurricane thoughts in my mind disappear. If I were to dive right head on into it, you surely would never hear from me again. My mind is for rent. My heart is like a fence and ties, and it's clear that time is right here. When the creatures that hide in the dark meet my eyes, I won't be astonished, no, be surprised. They point me towards something much deeper than life. They can't be sought out, but sometimes reminds you that life's like a wheel, and each thing that you feel might not be what it seems. It's all just a dream.
to silence, the water is clear. The hurricane thoughts in my mind disappear. If I were to dive right head on into it, surely you would never hear from me again. My mind is for rent. My heart is my friend sometimes, and it's clear our time is right here.
Oh, it was wonderful. That was the Falling Leaves from their album Unfurled. Just came out recently. The song Still Water with background vocals from Liv and Anita. You're listening to CHSR 97.9 FM Fredericton. I'm your host, John Heinstein, sitting in for Tammie Hayward. And we have Eddie Young here from the Living Roots Festival. So, Eddie, it's not just roots music that's coming to it, and that seems to be sort of typical of a lot of festivals today, like the Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival is not just about blues and jazz, it really extends out to a wider audience. So you're doing that too with the Living Roots Festival.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter what you're into, you can probably find something, find a show to go to during the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. There's lots of. We got Before the War queued up now. So there is rock and roll and jammy as you can get.
Yeah.
They also have like a jazz fusion band playing Saturday night.
Is that the Woodstock band?
No, more Hubu. I mean they're kind
Yeah.
of fusion too, but they're more soul.
Yeah.
But they're fantastic.
They're really good. Yeah.
But no, Art the band from Toronto, and they're
Great band.
Yeah, they're just awesome.
Yeah.
We got a whole instrumental show at the Abbey with Liam Keith-Jacques, Ewan Dobson, who I haven't talked too much about Ewan, but he's kind of fell into my lap, luckily, and then Ryan LeBlanc. So it's going to be three instrumental stuff. Just a quick thing on Ewan Dobson, now that I mentioned him.
Okay.
He is world known for his guitar playing and his finger. He's 3-time world finger picking champion.
Wow.
The weekend after this weekend, he's going to play in Quebec with Joe Satriani.
Yeah.
It just kind of fell in my lap that he's a
Finger picking guitar or banjo or both,
guitar.
or, yeah?
Guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look on YouTube, he has one particular song that has like 26 million hits on it.
Wow, that's something to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to be playing the Abbey. So I'm suspecting that. I mean, if we put 30 people in the Abbey Cafe, it's going to be pretty stuffed.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, make sure you get there nice and early.
Is it upstairs in the Abbey Cafe or downstairs?
No, in the downstairs room. It kind of
Okay.
keeps it a little bit separate from the general public coming in to get their coffee and things like that.
So that's an all ages show?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Really, most are, other than the Capitol, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even at Grimross, if you're accompanied by your parent or something, I mean, you definitely come along.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
'Cause I assumed that it would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
but,
No, it's I encourage that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to refresh everybody's ears, it's starting tonight, right? You got a soft start.
Soft start
tonight.
tonight with Washboard Workshop. Yes. But then starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. Full on for 4 days, I guess.
Do you have to bring your own washboard to the washboard?
She
workshop?
has like 15
Does she
washboards
really?
there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So she's also she goes around and she does it all the time. So
Yeah. Play some music and get your clothes washed at the same time.
That's right. Yeah. So going back to what you said about not being just roots, we have Before the War queued up. Their local band, consisting of members from all sorts of other bands around. They haven't played in roughly a year and a half. Kind of had to pull them out of the woodwork to do this set. So they're going to do one show only. They're going to actually close out the whole main programming of the festival Saturday night. Well, Sunday morning, we should say, at the Capitol.
Yeah.
I just love these guys. They
They're
really
really
open
good.
it up. They have space in their songs to really tear it. They could play their 45-minute set with 2 songs if they wanted to.
And that's Jason Sonia on drums and Camilo V on guitar.
Yeah.
He's a songwriter for the band.
Yeah,
as you know.
yeah. That's his. Most of the material is his songs.
Yeah.
Jason Flores on bass and Juan Morales on the percussion.
Oh wow, that's just a really
Yeah, they have the kind of a Spanish sound to them.
international- yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
With the congas, they got a different sound to them.
Yeah, Juan's a really great drummer. And
Yeah,
Camilo's a great guitar player. In
Yeah.
fact, he just came out with Coco Loco is the latest release.
He's a bass player on that
and
one.
he's a bass player on that, and he's a fabulous
He
bass
is.
player. I mean, this is like in John Scofield Uber Jam territory.
Absolutely it is.
This, like, these guys are a fabulous jazz fusion band right here in Fredericton.
Yeah.
Before the War will be an
Their
equally
new, just
fulfilling
quick on that,
experience.
their Joyful Noise, their album that they just come out with, is one of the best things to come out of Fredericton in a long time.
I absolutely
That
agree
album.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love fusion too, and there's not a lot of fusion in New Brunswick. Pony Rouge
it's coming.
and
It's
Joyful
coming.
Noise.
People are going
Yeah.
out to the instrumental shows lately.
Oh yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I mean, that's really been popularized in the jam band scene in the last maybe 10 years or so. Is that, like, people, you can grow up in New Brunswick without ever listening to any jazz, but jazz fusion is that kind of bridge that will
Yeah.
sort of take you there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's listen to Before the War.
The Wreck.
So The Wreck is the tune from Before the War. These guys don't play much anymore. They haven't played in what, a couple of years?
A year and a half. Yeah.
A year and a half. So if you want to see some excellent musicians play some really interesting international music, then you're in for a real treat at the Living Roots Music Festival. What day are they playing?
They're closing it all out Saturday night.
Okay.
Capital.
Well, let's listen to The Wreck.
Sea was surprising, the reaper advancing, the night of my uncommon tale. Men in a vessel were trying to wrestle their lives from the thunder and hail. But the fire in their eyes was imperiled, the fear in their hearts very real. And so they went under, the crashing of thunder would silence their cries in the end. A single survivor, his injuries minor, washed up on the shore by the inn. Tell us your story of courage and glory, the locals demanded of him. But the tale that he told was preposterous. He was saved by a creature of myth. And so came the laughter and curses right after, but he just looked down and then said, bring me to my home, oh maritime girl, take my ship to shore, don't let it fail, save my life and break my heart again, and let me be. He spoke of a creature of mythical features who flew through the sea like a ray. She was his blessing, the man was obsessing the moment she left him astray. 'Cause the white in her skin is perfection, the swing in her groove very real. And so he sailed over one night and another while singing and calling for her. Bring me to my home, oh maritime girl, take my ship to shore, don't let it fail, save my life and break my heart again, and let me be. Bring me to my home, take my ship to shore, save my life and break my heart again. Bring me to my home, oh maritime girl, take my ship to shore, don't let it fail, save my life and break my heart again, and let me be.
was Before the War with the tune The Wreck. They'll be playing at the Living Roots Festival, closing it out this weekend. I would like to thank Eddie Young with Living Roots Festival and Bradan Phalen playing this weekend with Tragedy Ann and the Lifers. Thanks for coming here, guys. Is there anything that you'd like to say as parting words, Eddie?
Not too much. I mean, I just hope to see you all out. If you see me out there, say hi, give me a high five. I'm sure I'll be exhausted. Bring me a water, maybe.
Possibly a beer.
Yeah, depending on where I am and depending on what stage of night we're at.
Yeah.
But just I appreciate everybody coming out. Grab your tickets, even if you can come out and see one show. I'd love to see you out there, and go find your new favorite band.
Okay. Braden, what are your show dates?
Show dates. We're playing every single day. I've got coins on the schedule here so I can keep track. The Lifers are playing with Annie Sumi on Thursday at the Wowzers Room at 8:45. On Friday, Tragedy Ann is playing Bellwether, opening up for Brooklyn Duran, and that's at 4. Also on Friday, the Lifers are playing Reed's Newsstand at 9:30. And then on Saturday, the Lifers are playing with Old Man Grant at the Barnhouse in Keswick. And that show starts at 7:30. The Lifers are on at 9.
Great. Check it out. Check out all of these bands. If you have any need for information, go to rootsandsoulmusic.com or to the Roots and Soul Facebook page.
The Living Roots Facebook
Living
page.
Roots Facebook page. So we're going to close out with a tune from Annie Sumi, who will also be playing this weekend at the Living Roots Festival. Thank you very much, Eddie and Braden, for being here today to talk about the show.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
me.
John.
It's going to be a great weekend.
Late nights, walking round the city with nothing to do. Cold hands, street lamps and springtime. Ain't no gonna hold you, ain't no gonna hold you from your wandering. And that's just what you had in mind. Walking round the city late at night. 3 a.m. making your way down to the underground. On the platform waiting, somebody's playing La Vie en Rouge. You feel like dancing, you feel like dancing 'cause you're on your own. We'll say la vie and you don't mind dancing round the city late at night. Oh, 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 oh. Sunrise, awakening the city. Your eyes are saying sleep when you're dead. Go out instead, looking for fun. You think you're crazy.